What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so, especially if you enjoy Panther content, racing content, autocross stuff. Got lots of that on here. Anyway, as you can clearly tell, it's a nice day. What's even better is it's 50 degrees in February. So we're gonna work on the car. Might as well. What we're doing today is potentially a seat swap. I got these race buckets off of eBay. Yes, they're an eBay special. I want to say they were something like maybe $400-ish for the pair of them. So we're going to see if we can make these work in the old Mafrauder there. Biggest issue that I foresee happening is the seat tracks. Passenger side is probably not going to be too terrible. It's a manual seat on the passenger side on this car. I'm hoping I can adapt the factory track to that seat. What's going to be interesting is the driver's side, which is a power seat. And I really want to retain some of the power functions on the driver's seat, such as, forwards and backwards, and also the ability where it kind of lifts and tilts. That I'd like to keep. I understand I'm not going to be able to keep the... what do you call it? When the seat goes not forwards and backwards laterally, but the seat back, that function I'm not going to be able to keep. I understand that. That's not going to be an issue. So I guess let's dig in. Let's take a look at what we got. So these Panther cars are relatively easy to pull the seats out of. You got one big bolt over on this side, which is either a 3/4 or a 19 millimeter bolt. Both of them seem to fit okay, but not perfect. We'll give that a try. The rest of them are a 13 millimeter bolt. There's only 4, so each corner of the seat, and it just comes right out. That's for all your Crown Victorias, Mercury Grand Marquis, Lincoln Town cars. So seat swaps in these things are pretty popular. You could take seats out of a Lincoln Town car, put them in a Crown Vic, take Crown Vic seats out, put them in here. We're going to be doing a little bit more difficult trying to adapt aftermarket seats to factory rails. So I guess let's take the bolts out and see if we can shimmy the seat out and flip her over and take a look at what we got, see if we can make some magic happen. Let's get to it. Was fun. I don't know if you can tell or could tell from the video, but yeah, that bolt snapped off. So it looks like I'm going to probably have to order seat bolts and drill and tap that particular hole. Good times. The other one's not even budging, and if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, but I'm not messing around. I got out the impact and 13 millimeter impact. So we're just going to do it like that and hope for the best. See what happens. Here we go. Rounded that fucker, snapped that fucker right off too. Those were rusted in there. I suppose that's what you get with a 20-year-old car that's never been apart. Should have expected something like that. Well, oh boy. And then on the underside of the seat, you've got these 2 plugs that you have to remove. If you have a power seat on the passenger side, you're going to have more than 2 plugs, obviously, for other power functions. I'm guessing that has something to do with the airbag? Maybe? I don't know. It's a good question. Anyway, undo those and the seat comes right out. Both the factory seats and the aftermarket seats appear to be relatively straightforward. I believe there's 4 of these bolts. One here, one in the back, and then on the other side as well, that hold the factory seat track to the seat. And then if you look at these Tanaka seats, it's the same basic setup. You've got 4 of these, unfortunately, Allen head screws on each corner that hold the seat to the provided tracks, which we are not going to use. So let's take these off, and then we'll go take the ones off the factory seat and see what we come up with. Factory seat tracks are, of course, 10mm bolts. We'll go ahead and zip those off. Alright, so after much trial and tribulation, finally got the factory seat rails removed from the seat. It was not as straightforward as I thought. I thought it was just the 4 bolts on the bottom. Not the case. There's also bolts up here and 2 bolts there on that side that are pretty well hidden, like up in the seat. You can't see them at first, so that was a little bit frustrating. It looks like that particular harness is not integral to the seat, and there's some things I believe that do need to be plugged in when we put the other seat back in, so I'll pull that harness off. Looking at this particular rail, I think I'm gonna have to take the death wheel and probably cut off these sides right along there. I might have to drill another hole to mount that seat if things don't quite line up there and there or there, but we'll see. So far it looks all right, and I don't know exactly what that is. That's gonna have to go. All right, well, it's a reasonably hard part. I guess we'll get to grinding. All right, well, the angle grinder wasn't cutting it, so I busted out the old trusty Sawzall with a metal blade. Not that the angle grinder wasn't doing it, but I don't know, these batteries have been off charge for a while, and you get halfway through and the battery dies. It is a decent amount of metal to cut through. But Sawzall's doing a good job. We'll keep going with that. Doesn't have to be pretty, just has to be functional as far as I'm concerned. Fucking course. Of course I'd break a blade. So it's the next day. Went to the hardware store last night, picked up some new Sawzall blades, finished cutting this off. So that's that extra piece that mounts up inside the seat. We don't need that. The aftermarket seats will mount flat on that. So now we just got to repeat the process on this side and attempt not to cut off the seat belt bracket in the process. I have to see how I'm going to handle that. Maybe Sawzall from each side, and then try and angle grind or use the cutoff wheel there for this little portion right by where the seat belt's going to be. Oh, we'll see. so with a little massaging, I was able to get the factory seat rails mounted to the aftermarket seat. Interestingly, I was able to use the factory Ford bolts. They had the same thread pitch, diameter, everything as the aftermarket seat, so that was pretty cool. But they're on there. Might need to tighten this side up a little bit more, but other than that, yeah, we're good to go there. Now comes the really fun part, where I get to drill and tap the 2 bolts that I broke for the seat mounts, for the sliders inside the car. All right, let's get started on that. All right, now here we go. A little bit of lubrication on there. Well, it's working. This cobalt drill bit is it's actually really nice. It's getting warm though. There we go. One hole drilled. So I have to get a vacuum cleaner, get all that metal shavings up. I'll have to go tap that out. What I'm doing is I'm sizing up bolts to a larger size bolt too. So I have to tap that out. And then, I don't know, I guess it'll be more secure. It was just easier to go with a larger bolt size since it was going to be drilled out anyway. Well, I gave up on the drill being able to tap this hole. It just simply does not have enough torque. So ran to the hardware store and picked up a hand tap. Saved the drill battery for drilling out the other side there, and finished tapping this for a 3/8 bolt. All right, that should thread right in. Oh, fantastic, just perfect. That's a big old meaty bolt too. Look at the size of this guy. Yeah, that'd be good for that seat. Upgrade it to grade 8 hardware as well. Probably a little excessive for seat bolts, but better safe than sorry. All right, let's get the other side done. Well, that was an ordeal. Guess clean that up and tap that one. Right now that everything's drilled and tapped, that far hole's a little bit crooked, but it'll be fine. Let's put the seat in and see what we got. All right, there you have it. One eBay aftermarket bucket racing seat installed in the Mafrauder. I am mostly happy with how this looks. It's a good match for the interior. I have a better idea of what to expect for the driver's seat, although that's going to be a lot more complicated because it is a power seat and I want to retain those power features, or at least some of them. You're probably not going to see any of this footage for a couple of months. Well, maybe not a couple of months, but it's supposed to get cold again. I'm not going to be out here working on this thing in the cold. It's like 55 degrees here today, so. But this was a 2-day ordeal. Maybe with this next one, with knowing what to expect, I can do the other seat in 1 day. We'll see. All right, so it's been about 2 weeks since the last footage that you saw of me tackling the passenger side seat. As you can see, it's snowed and done Minnesota things in the meantime. But today and tomorrow are supposed to be nice. I'm getting a little bit of a late start today because I didn't get off work until like 6 in the morning. But hey, that's the railroad for you. But today we are going to tackle, God help me, the driver's seat and try and keep some power functions. So I already know what to expect as far as getting the seat out itself. The seat bolts, I'm expecting to shear the bolts off in the body like I did the last time, so I suppose let's get at it. Wouldn't you know it, I actually managed to get one seat bolt out completely unscathed. But just like the other side, that one sheared off. I didn't screw around, I just grabbed the impact right away. So I'm not completely mad at that. Am I going to run 2 different size bolts? Because I'm lazy and don't feel like drilling and tapping both sides for larger hardware? Yes. Honestly, I feel like this one came out a lot easier. Probably had to do a lot with, I knew what to expect. Biggest pain in the butt was the like 8 plugs for the power seat down there. But all right, let's now that that's out, we'll start dismantling it. Yes, don't mind me, just disassembling a seat with an impact. Also, something to keep in mind while disassembling these factory Ford seats, these seat rails, is these Ford seat rails have absolutely no shortage of sharp edges. They were not machined to be soft, nor really disassembled. Ford never planned on anybody disassembling and modifying these rails. So just watch yourself, maybe wear gloves. I'm stupid, so I didn't wear any gloves, but whatever. Now that I've got the the seat rail separated from the seat. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to get into this harness so that I can figure out what I do and do not need in order to keep things functioning properly, and most importantly, to keep the seatbelt from incessantly dinging at me because it thinks it's not plugged in. Alright, so after some investigation and some careful trimming, this is what I came up with. Basically, everything on that side, or the seatbelt side of the seat, should allow me to keep the seatbelt from dinging at me. And I believe one of these plugs, I think it's this one here, is actually some sort of motor stop for the main seat track. So I definitely want to keep that just so I don't screw my stuff up. So I just tried to do a clean cut at the back of the plug here. I'll probably wrap that in electrical tape. I don't have one of those fancy pin pullers to actually pull the pins out of there. Although I might try and hammer them out. We'll see. I suppose now that we got the wiring harness figured out and everything's separated, it's time to start hacking the seat rail. And if you guys take away anything from this video, if you're thinking about doing these kind of aftermarket buckets on your factory seat rails, it's not hard. Everything that's involved isn't hard. Yeah, unplugging everything and figuring out how the clips are going to come undone, all that's time consuming. If you're attempting to take apart a 20-year-old car that's been in the rust belt its entire life, yeah, you're going to break bolts, things are going to shear off. It's going to be time consuming. Overall, though, it's not at all difficult. It's 4 bolts and some of these inside bolts here to remove the seat from the actual rail itself. And then all you're doing is cutting off the side brackets that you're not going to need for the aftermarket seats and mounting the aftermarket seats. Whether you got to drill a new hole or not, all depending, but that's it. So with that being said, let's cut this apart. I'm just going to take the angle grinder and remove any potentially sharp edges. Alright, there you have it. One factory power seat rail adapted to an aftermarket bucket seat. Race bucket. Overall, not bad. The difference on the power side versus the manual side of the car for the seat rails, on the manual side, the holes pretty much lined up with what was on the aftermarket seat. The power rail, not so much. I used the 2 front mounting holes, but then I had to drill out the 2 rear holes, match them up and drill them out. But other than that, that's it. It wasn't terribly bad. In the process of tapping the mounting holes in the front, or the one that sheared off in the car. And then we'll get it in, plug stuff in, and see what we got. I'm running out of daylight, so let's get to it. So as I'm sure you guessed, I ran out of daylight pretty quickly yesterday, but it's done. It's in there, it's good. I gotta put the little plastic trimmings on there yet to make it look nice, but it's in there and the power functions work. Check this out. Look at that. Well, at least the power functions that I could keep. So I mean, I've got the tilt like that. I can raise the entire seat up, down. So all the power functions that you're used to on a factory rail. I was able to keep all that, and I'm super happy about that. But yeah, I think they turned out really nice. I'm excited about it. They're super comfortable, and a huge improvement as far as keeping you in place while you're driving than the split bench. To finish it off, I've got a couple of actually pretty cool new old stock Mercury floor mats that I got off of eBay. Actually picked up 2 sets because, I mean, when's the next time that you're going to run across factory Mercury vinyl floor mats, Ford aftermarket at that, for as long as they've been out of production. So we'll throw those in and see what it looks like. Yeah, I thought those were pretty cool. Mercury logo and everything. And as you can see, they're from the, you would have gotten these at a dealership in the aftermarket parts section. At any Ford dealership, Ford, Lincoln, Mercury, whatever. So that's pretty cool that these things are even still around in the original packaging and everything. All right, those are in there. Pretty cool. Overall, I'm super happy about how this all turned out. Yeah, a lot of it fought me, but a lot of that's because I didn't know what I was getting into to start. So hopefully this video helps you guys if you're looking to do aftermarket buckets. And reuse your factory seat rails. Corbeau Seats does offer rails for the Panther platform, but they are not power rails. So I mean, if you want to keep some of these nifty features, I mean, that's definitely something to consider. All right. Well, I guess the main takeaways from this is just be prepared. Overall, the job is pretty simple. You know, you've got 3 13mm bolts for the seats. Or I should say, one is a stud in the back with a nut. The 2 up front are bolts. The one larger stud in the back is something like a 9/16. I forget exactly what the millimeter is on that. But I guess just be prepared. If you've got a 20 or 25-year-old car that's in the rust belt, you're going to break shit. I had the bolt shear off in the body. I had to drill and tap those. There's not a whole lot of modification involved as far as getting the seats adapted to the seat rails, but just be prepared, I guess, is your main takeaway. The job itself isn't hard, but you're probably going to run into, we'll call them, difficulties that will keep you from completing the job in a timely fashion. As always, guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoy this content, whether it be something instructional or race stuff with the Mercury, please consider liking the video, subscribing, leave comments, ask questions, by all means. And as always, guys, have a great day.